Chapter 21. Finally, Jehoshaphat lay down with his forefathers, and was buried with his forefathers in the city of David. And Jehoram his son began to reign in place of him. And he had brothers, Jehoshaphat's sons, Azariah and Jehiel, and Zechariah and Azariah, and Michael and Shephatiah, all these being the sons of Jehoshaphat, the king of Israel. Consequently, their father gave them many gifts in silver and in gold and in choice things, along with fortified cities in Judah. But the kingdom he gave to Jehoram, for he was the firstborn. When Jehoram rose up over the kingdom of his father, he proceeded to make his position strong, and so he killed all his brothers with the sword, and also some of the princes of Israel. 32 years old was Jehoram when he began to reign, and for 8 years he reigned in Jerusalem. And he went on walking in the way of the kings of Israel, just as those of the house of Ahab had done. For Ahab's own daughter had become his wife, and he continued to do what was bad in Jehovah's eyes. And Jehovah did not want to bring the house of David to ruin, for the sake of the covenant that he had concluded with David, and just as he had said he would give him and his sons a lamp always. In his days, Edom revolted from under the hand of Judah, and then made a king to reign over them. So Jehoram, together with his chiefs, passed over, and also all the chariots with him. And it came about that he rose up by night, and went striking down the Edomites that were surrounding him, and also the chiefs of the chariots. But Edom kept up its revolt from under the hand of Judah down to this day. It was then that Libnah began to revolt at the same time from under his hand, because he had left Jehovah the God of his forefathers. He himself also had made high places on the mountains of Judah, that he might cause the inhabitants of Jerusalem to have immoral intercourse, and that he might drive Judah away. Eventually there came a writing to him from Elijah the prophet, saying, "This is what Jehovah the God of David your forefather has said. Due to the fact that you have not walked in the ways of Jehoshaphat your father, or in the ways of Asa the king of Judah, but you walk in the way of the kings of Israel, and cause Judah and the inhabitants of Jerusalem to have immoral intercourse, the same way that the house of Ahab caused the having of immoral intercourse, and even your own brothers, the household of your father, who were better than you have killed. Look, Jehovah is dealing a great blow to your people, and to your sons, and to your wives, and to all your goods. And you will be with many sicknesses, with a malady of your intestines, until your intestines have come out, because of the sickness day by day." Accordingly, Jehovah aroused against Jehoram the spirit of the Philistines and the Arabs that were by the side of the Ethiopians. So they came up into Judah, and forced it open, and took captive all the goods that were to be found in the king's house, and also his sons and his wives. And there was not left to him a son, but Jehoahaz, his youngest son. And after all this, Jehovah plagued him in his intestines with a sickness, for which there was no healing. And it came about that in the days to come, even when the term of 2 full years had expired, his intestines came out during his sickness, and he gradually died in his bad maladies. And his people did not make a burning for him like the burning for his forefathers. 32 years old he happened to be when he began to reign, and for 8 years he reigned in Jerusalem. Finally he went away without being desired. So they buried him in the city of David, but not in the burial places of the kings. Chapter 22. Then the inhabitants of Jerusalem made Ahaziah his youngest son king in place of him, for the marauder band that came with the Arabs to the camp had killed all the older ones. And Ahaziah the son of Jehoram began to reign as king of Judah. 22 years old was Ahaziah when he began to reign, and for 1 year he reigned in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Athaliah, the granddaughter of Omri. He himself also walked in the ways of the house of Ahab, for his mother herself became his counselor in doing wickedly. And he went on doing what was bad in Jehovah's eyes, the same as the house of Ahab, for they themselves became counselors to him after the death of his father, to his ruination. It was also in their counsel that he walked, so that he went with Jehoram the son of Ahab, the king of Israel, to the war against Hazael, the king of Syria, at Ramoth Gilead, at which the shooters got to strike Jehoram. Hence he returned to get healed at Jezreel from the wounds that they had inflicted upon him at Ramah, when he fought Hazael, the king of Syria. As for Azariah, the son of Jehoram, the king of Judah, he went down to see Jehoram, the son of Ahab, in Jezreel, for he was sick. But it was from God that the downfall of Ahaziah occurred by his coming to Jehoram. And when he came, he went out with Jehoram to Jehu, the grandson of Nimshi, whom Jehovah had anointed to cut off the house of Ahab. And it came about that as soon as Jehu had entered into controversy with the house of Ahab, he got to find the princes of Judah and the sons of the brothers of Ahaziah, ministers of Ahaziah, and he proceeded to kill them. Then he went looking for Ahaziah, and they finally captured him as he was hiding in Samaria, and brought him to Jehu. And they put him to death and buried him, for they said, "He is the grandson of Jehoshaphat, who searched for Jehovah with all his heart." And there was no one of the house of Ahaziah to retain power for the kingdom. As regards Athaliah, the mother of Ahaziah, she saw that her son had died. So she rose up and destroyed all the royal offspring of the house of Judah. However, Jehoshabeath, the daughter of the king, took Jehoash, the son of Ahaziah, and stole him away from among the sons of the king that were to be put to death, and put him and his nursing woman in the inner room for the couches. And Jehoshabeath, the daughter of King Jehoram, the wife of Jehoiada the priest, for she herself happened to be the sister of Ahaziah, kept him concealed because of Athaliah, and she did not put him to death. And he continued with them in the house of the true God, hidden for 6 years, while Athaliah was ruling as queen over the land. Chapter 23. And in the 7th year, Jehoiada showed himself courageous, and proceeded to take the chiefs of hundreds, namely Azariah the son of Jeroham, and Ishmael the son of Jehohanan, and Azariah the son of Obed, and Maaseiah the son of Adiah, and Elishaphat the son of Zichri with him into the covenant. Afterward they went around throughout Judah and collected together the Levites from all the cities of Judah and the heads of the paternal houses of Israel. So they came to Jerusalem. Then all the congregation concluded a covenant with the king in the house of the true God, after which he said to them, "Look, the son of the king himself will reign, just as Jehovah promised concerning the sons of David. This is the thing that you will do. 1/3 of you who are coming in on the Sabbath, of the priests and of the Levites, will be for doorkeepers. And 1/3 will be at the house of the king, and 1/3 will be at the gate of the foundation. And all the people will be in the courtyards of the house of Jehovah. And do not let anyone enter the house of Jehovah but the priests and those of the Levites ministering. These are the ones that will enter, because they are a holy group, and all the people themselves will keep the obligation to Jehovah. And the Levites must encircle the king all around, each one with his weapons in his hands. And as for anyone coming into the house, he should be put to death, and continue with the king when he comes in and when he goes out." And the Levites and all Judah proceeded to do according to all that Jehoiada the priest had commanded. So they took each one his men that were coming in on the Sabbath, together with those going out on the Sabbath, for Jehoiada the priest had not set the divisions free from duty. Further, Jehoiada the priest gave the chiefs of hundreds the spears and the shields and the circular shields that had belonged to King David, which were in the house of the true God. And he went on to station all the people, even each one with his missile in his hand, from the right side of the house clear to the left side of the house, by the altar and by the house, all around near the king. Then they brought the king's son out, and put upon him the diadem and the testimony, and made him king. And so Jehoiada and his sons anointed him, and said, "Let the king live." When Athaliah heard the sound of the people running and praising the king, she at once came to the people at the house of Jehovah. Then she saw, and there was the king standing by his pillar at the entry, and the princes and the trumpets by the king, and all the people of the land were rejoicing and blowing the trumpets, and the singers with the instruments of song, and those giving the signal for offering praise. Immediately Athaliah ripped her garments apart and said, "Conspiracy! Conspiracy!" But Jehoiada the priest brought out the chiefs of hundreds, the appointed ones of the military force, and said to them, "Take her out from inside the rows, and as for anyone coming after her, he should be put to death with the sword." For the priest had said, "You must not put her to death at the house of Jehovah." So they laid their hands upon her. When she came to the entry of the horse gate of the king's house, they at once put her to death there. Then Jehoiada concluded a covenant between himself and all the people and the king, that they would continue as the people of Jehovah. After that, all the people came to the house of Baal and pulled it down, and his altars and his images they broke up, and Mattan, the priest of Baal, they killed before the altars. Further, Jehoiada put the offices of the house of Jehovah in the hand of the priests and the Levites, whom David had put in divisions over the house of Jehovah, to offer up the burnt sacrifices of Jehovah according to what is written in the law of Moses, with rejoicing and with song by the hands of David. So he stationed the gatekeepers by the gates of the house of Jehovah, that no one unclean in any respect might enter. He now took the chiefs of hundreds, and the lordly ones, and the rulers over the people, and all the people of the land, and brought the king down from the house of Jehovah. Then they came right through the upper gate to the king's house, and seated the king upon the throne of the kingdom. And all the people of the land continued to rejoice, and the city itself had no disturbance, and Athaliah they had put to death with the sword. Chapter 24.